You're listening to Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry Sanderson on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
Mostly sunny, the high in the upper 60s at 68 degrees. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 56 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Inside the Locker Room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
And good morning. Welcome into a rainy Tuesday edition of Inside the Locker Room. Everybody had a great evening last night. Little basketball on. Caitlin Clark, the officials made sure she made it to the Sweet 16. Her team did. Good lands. Officiating in this tournament, I don't think it's been very good, to be honest with you. But anyway, 205-342-9904 is the phone number if you want to get in on the show with us this morning. X accounts at Locker Room 109, at Barry Sanderson, at Wimp Sanderson 1. Email address for the show is wimpandbarry@yahoo.com. Download the app to your smartphone, the Tide 100.9 app. You can message us on the app. There's a on-demand button. You can go back and listen to old shows if you want. Also, you can message us right there on the app, and we got several of those yesterday. We appreciate you sending those in to us. Once again, our email, if you want to get to us as well, is wimpandbarry@yahoo.com. If it has to last, you got days like today. The weather's not always going to be perfect, and it has to be tough. Withstand the elements year after year. When it comes to building outdoors, it doesn't come any tougher than Yellowwood brand pressure-treated pine from Great Southern Wood. For a project that stands up against Mother Nature's best, be sure to head on down to your local dealer for Yellowwood brand pressure-treated pine lumber that protects against rot, fungal decay, and termite attack. Get only the best for your next 5-star backyard project. And always remember, if it doesn't have that yellow tag on it, you don't want it. I know, Dad, that Nate Oates was on Ryan's show yesterday. They were preparation to catch a plane down to L.A. When I listened to what he said, if Reitzel is in concussion protocol, then you have to go a certain amount of time before you can even practice, and you practice, and then you have to have a day where you're symptom-free. So I don't see any way he plays in this game on Thursday. I know initially he said on Sunday he was going to play. I don't think there's any chance that the kid will play on Thursday. I don't know if that's a big deal or not. Diabate is playing good. It is a big deal, but you want to be healthy when you get to these times. But I don't think he'll play. But anyway, good morning. How are you this morning?
Doing okay. Okay. Wanted to go ahead and mention Thursday's games. Well, I don't have a whole lot to talk about. I'll tell you before I do that. I'll just some things that happened. He mentioned Caitlin Clark, and Iowa went last night. She got 32. I could see the argument with the officials, but I really didn't know what happened. Big kid named Curtis from Nashville, quarterback for the 26th season. Georgia, actually Kirby did on his own, not on his own, but he really worked as the head coach to get him. They got the quarterback. They beat Tennessee and Texas on him. The big tackle that had committed to Georgia, Justin Terry, he backed off and went to USC. So that's kind of interesting. Vanderbilt hired the coach from James Madison, Mark Byington. I mean, pronounced that right. Sounded to me like she just had interviews. It was a funny deal. She had interviews, and she came out, the vice chairman, a lady, and she came out and said in the interview that he did so well, and liked all this, liked all that. So kind of an interesting interview, I thought, but that's what they decided to do. Clemson joined Florida State in suing the ACC about the exit fees. they wanted to get out, as people said they're trying to get out now. Yesterday, the ACC conference re-sued Clemson. So Clemson sued them. Now they have sued Clemson. So they're in a mess over the ACC. We'll see what happens. ESPN, college football playoffs, all the way to 2031 for you guys. $7.8 billion will be the big money there. The running back at Georgia from Florida, who's very, very good, but transferred to Georgia, called for DWI problems. They're trying to straighten it out. So that's some of your news. As Barry's mentioned, we got the 4 games on Saturday, on Thursday. Here's the way they start. I'll just give them to you in order. They're night games. Clemson and Arizona. You got 4 on each Thursday and 4 on Friday. Arizona and Clemson in the Western Regional should be a good game. Arizona came into Alabama and happened to beat them. Clemson came into Alabama and happened to beat them. Arizona beat Alabama. I think that's right. Early in the year. Should be. I have no idea, but San Diego State will play University of Connecticut, who's probably the best team. Connecticut is 11-point favorite, and in that other game, Arizona is a 7.5-point favorite. A lot of points. Alabama and North Carolina. Carolina's a 7-point favorite. I need to say it the way I need to say it. I think I'm not saying Alabama will win, but I think they have a great chance to win. I think they have a great opportunity there, a better opportunity than most people think. We'll talk about that, Barry, and I will. And lastly but not least, Illinois and Iowa State. Iowa State's darn good. Illinois played good. Iowa State's 2-point favorite. So also they have the golf tournament in Houston for the Children's Hospitals. That'll start on Thursday. So those are some of the things that happened. We welcome your calls to tell us what you think or where we are. And that's it.
Yeah, I looked at a guy went on Michie Johnson, which is South Carolina's lead scorer. He from Cleveland, Ohio, transferred to South Carolina from Ohio State. He got on, I don't know, one of the social medias. He's transferring. He was a leading scorer. He talked about what a great job Coach Parrish did, how much he loved it, but this is this decision is best for he and his family, which is telling you what we've come to in college athletics now, where you're the leading scorer on a team, and the rumor is he's going to transfer back to Ohio State. So this is an absolute joke. A guy like Mark Sears. Mark Sears, you want him to go into the transfer portal after the way he's played? What would that guy be worth? He's worth a lot of money right now, and I'm sure Alabama will find a way to try to get it to him. So when you have a great season, or you're going to have a tremendous NCAA tournament where you're on TV and people are looking at you, then the opportunity to go and cash in and do what you're going to say, which is best for me and my family, is out there with this current system we have when you can transfer and be immediately eligible. This guy's already used his one transfer, so if you had that rule in, South Carolina wouldn't lose this kid. Louisville, Dad, taking so long to hire a coach. They're going to have plenty of money, but all the good guys are going to be gone by the time they get one hired. That tells me they must be trying to hire the guy at Indiana State. He's still in one of these tournaments, which is probably why people turn these tournaments down. But Louisville's so far behind with all the players that they've lost, and they still haven't hired anybody. So this is a mess, right? The way college athletics
I'll tell you,
is.
even something like that, you mentioned, Caitlin Clark supposedly is getting $3.1 million.
Yeah.
And
she's
money.
Worth it.
Yeah, I know, but I just thought, the ladies, that's quite different from the ladies for somebody to be in that category. I think to me, that's news.
Yeah. All right.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. That's good. Go ahead.
We're kind of jumping around at Kentucky. Calipari always visits with the AD after the season to talk about where things are. And I had tried to get the person on from Kentucky that wasn't able to be on. Called me last night, said he wasn't able to be on, not because Daddy has some family stuff. So Mitch Barnhart is a guy who I know fires people not quickly, but he will fire you. I know he fired one of my buddies at Oregon State when he was out there. So the president at Kentucky, they say, has given Mitch the okay to do whatever he deems best for UK. So he's kind of bowed out of it. Made darn sure that that the AD does whatever. And I don't think anything's going to happen. And I don't think it should, unless there is somebody in the coaching world that's really good, really good, that can recruit and get players. And Kentucky people are going to be unhappy about everything. So that's about it. I'm not going to do it now, but there's a very good article in here about the day or two that Coach Saban decided he was getting out and what led up to it. And I'm also going to try to do some past history on what happened when the two coaches left Alabama when I was there. It might be interesting because we're going to go through a dead period after the final of the NCAA. So we got to have something good. That's it.
Vegas is not believing what you believe, Dad. 93% of the bets are on North Carolina at -4.5 versus Alabama. 93%. So that line will start to move. It's already moved a point. It was 3.5 yesterday. It's 4.5. By the time they throw it up, it'll be close to 6, in my opinion. So we'll take the break. We'll come back. We'll hear what Coach said about Reitzel. When you hear what he said about Reitzel, I don't see how Reitzel plays. When you get in concussion protocol, there's not enough time between Sunday and Thursday for him to be able to pass through that, in my opinion. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to tell you what I think, and I don't see how. If he does, great. I hope he can for him and for the University of Alabama and those players over there. But I don't see there's enough time. Let's hear what Coach had to say when we get back for break. 2-minute truck. They're at 1330 Martin Road East. That's where you go with in preparation for the move. They got the boxes, the packing supplies, everything you need. Moving is stressful, so let the professionals handle it for you. They'll take great care of you and your stuff. Give them a call today for the estimate, 205-247-5050. That is 2 men in a truck, movers who care.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We do have a couple of early morning accidents on the board. One of them is westbound 2059 at Skyland Boulevard. The other eastbound McFarland at Upper Columbus Road in Northport. However, in both cases, the vehicles are out of the road, no lanes blocked, and no heavy backup. It's raining, though, and nobody likes that. Roadways extra slick and hazardous as a result into and out of the region this morning. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Ray Romero.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Tuesday morning. The Tuscaloosa Violent Crimes Unit continues to investigate a tragic incident at Aspen Village Apartments yesterday. A woman having a mental episode was shot and killed by a TPD officer as she reportedly attempted to stab her daughter. 45-year-old Yvette Michelle Tower died in the incident. Officials say body...
Or text DEAL to 511-511. Text DEAL to 511-511. All pets are unique. Your pet's results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply. Studies available upon request.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Any lingering showers ending this morning. The sky becoming partially sunny by mid to late afternoon. The high today 74. Fair and cooler tonight, the low 68. Tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny. The high in the upper 60s at 68 degrees. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 55 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Alabama fans are all over the world, and we are too. Download the Tide 100.9 app right now in the App Store and Google Play, and take the Crimson Tide everywhere you go.
Yeah, he's still getting with the doctor and the trainer, and I think he's going to be all the way up to Thursday. With the head injuries, whether it ends up finally getting diagnosed with a concussion or just whatever it is, they got to be symptom free, like no headaches for multiple days. So I think that's going to take us right up to the we certainly need him. We could use him. I think we're going to have to prepare to play the game without him, just in case he's not able to play though. On Thursday, because once you have no headache, then you've got to be able to go through a workout, a practice, and then it come up and you can't have any kind of symptoms again. So it's and they're doing it to protect the athlete for future, and head injuries are a big deal. So our doctor and trainer are doing things the right way. We just it takes time, and you don't always have an answer immediately.
There was Nate Oates talking to Ryan Fowler yesterday about Reitzel. With that scenario, I don't see enough time. You have to be symptom-free. You have to practice. You have to be, not have headaches the next day. The window's too tight. I don't see any way this kid, unless it's not deemed a concussion, it doesn't go in concussion protocol. I'm not trying to talk about the kid's health, but as far as the game goes, I don't see any way this kid plays in the game. So when he says we're going to prepare to play the game like he's not going to be there, what does that mean? Obviously, it means.
Well, I think it's borderline. I don't know what the doctors are going to come up with. They'll have a bunch of doctors check him. And I think if it's borderline for his health, as far as him going out there and passing out again or something, I think that he doesn't play. I would say the borderline part of it leans a little bit towards not playing, or if he does, try him for a few minutes and see how he plays, and then take him out.
Yeah, but I don't think you can try if he hasn't passed concussion protocol.
I know. No, I meant after he passed.
Yeah, I don't think there's enough time. If you know what concussion protocol, I don't know. Justin, look it up. Look up concussion protocol, and you tell me if you think there's how many days that takes. Last time he had it, he would miss 4 or 5 games, I think. So, all right, get to the Yellowwood Hotline. Pressure treated pine from Great Southern. Build the 5-star backyard. Go to yellowwood.com to find a dealer close to you and get Philip in. Good morning, Philip.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. The other troubling thing about the Reitzel situation, in my opinion, is that Davin Cosby, one of the backups, has a broken foot. So now you've got 2 guys that have seen playing time this year, not playing against the University of North Carolina in a very important game. So they snuck by the other night without having without that issue biting them. But as time goes on, the percentages decrease that you can overcome those player absences, I would think.
Yeah, you look at, I think Ryland Griffin's playing well, but his conditioning is probably not quite what it needs to be because of the time off from the injury. You're right, Cosby broke his foot, so he's out. So if you lose Reitzel, he's out. Grant Nelson, man, he's got to play better, Philip. I mean, he needs to have his best game of his Alabama career for Alabama to have a chance. This kid, Baycott, down in low, he'll foul the whole team out if they let the ball in the post as easy as it gets in there.
He will.
Sometimes.
He will.
So I don't look at, I know Dad's trying to be optimistic and say they're going to hit a bunch of threes, but I don't look at this as a very good matchup for Alabama, in my opinion.
Well, with Reitzel possibly being out, and I agree, I think the timing's, real tight on that. If our best 3-point shooters out, well, one of our best, that's a lot of points out of the equation for Alabama.
Yeah. I don't know. What else you got, Philip?
Well, I was going to ask Coach Sanderson, either one of you guys, I guess, but how do you teach a guy, I'm thinking of Nick Pringle, but how do you teach a big man, or how do you coach a big man that can't catch very well? How do you coach him to catch better?
Well, I think you do a lot of that in practice. I had a grandson that probably needed to do something like that on another level. I think you work real hard feeding the post, dribble driving, say one-on-one, and then throwing the lob pass just by drill to a guy that can continue to catch it. And I think over a period of time, if you go with a 5 or 8 minute drill prior to one of your preseason, one of your pre-practice drills, that over a period of time the guy's going to get better. Got to get him. I think you would agree to this. You got to get him a little bit better in the head too. His head sometimes gets out of focus. But I think he's got some ability. Not a great free throw shooter. Undoubtedly, they think he's better than I think he is because they got him on the bus and how they got him up there. So I just think you're right. He's got to learn to catch it. That's what I would do with him. I think that's what you do is just make him continue to catch.
Yeah, some people do a drill, Philip. They throw him a tennis ball, so they bounce it. You got to really focus to catch a tennis ball when it's coming at you on a bounce. So it's trying to make them focus on their hands and catching the ball, so they'll use a tennis ball to try to.
I didn't do that. I just went to use the basketball. We fed now. I'm a little bit different, Philip, in that when I was coaching, we had good post people. And we worked real hard on reading the defense inside and throwing away from the defense, lob passes, against fronts, dribble drives, and those kinds of things. So, I played inside out. Today's game is outside in.
Right. Hey guys, I was looking at a clip that Michael Southern put up.
Yeah.
The other day that showed it was the Indiana-Alabama game. And, Anthony Murray's coming up the court, and he throws a beautiful pass to Leon Douglas. Now, this is the famous play where Leon was off of a charge against Kent Benson. It was a pivotal play in the game. But I watched that film, and it was a beautiful pass. And that game was played a year before the dunk was allowed. And Leon caught the pass, and in today's age, that would have been a slam dunk.
Yeah. I had some. For some reason, I want you to correct me on that. For some reason, I thought the block charge call was called at midcourt. It was not.
I can't remember that. I just was going by this footage that Michael put up, and it definitely shows him colliding with Kent Benson under the goal, and you can see Benson, cheering and pumping his fists and all that. So
I think the call that killed us all was a guy who they got a Big Ten official in the game. Bobby Knight's got him under his wing. I guarantee you. He's very careful about what he calls. He doesn't want Bobby after him. Bobby, and so that was a terrible officiating thing for us. And I think it was the one that was there was a block charge was at midcourt, but you may be able to look at it and correct me. I'm not sure. You may be right. I can't remember that. I think I was 15 at the time. But anyway, good talk to you guys and great show.
Thank you, Philip. I was wondering, somebody sent me that. I was looking at it. Do you even that far back? Did you see it? The thing he's talking about. Did you remember those plays?
No.
Yeah,
I remember the black charge.
I'm saying when you were watching, you said, "Oh yeah, I remember when that happened." Did you remember the game that far back? Could you remember plays when you saw the video?
No,
again, I guess is what.
Not really. I know. I just remember us taking two really questionable shots pretty quick. Back then, a little bit more shot selection for my teams and the coach ahead after me than they have today, and probably they're right and they were correct and we were wrong. But no, not that we were wrong, but we at certain periods of time we wanted a certain kind of shot. The three wasn't as prevalent. I don't even know if we had the three. I don't think we even had it.
Well, you definitely didn't have the three then. So.
No, but I think that's the team that went in. We beat North Carolina in Dayton in one of our really great games. Carolina and Dean had a great team, and the North Carolina stuff goes back a long time. I get a phone call from Dean Smith, and he said, we'd like to. I don't know if you want to do this, Coach, or not, but we'd like to bring Peter Chilcutt back to Tuscaloosa. I don't know what your feelings are about that. And I said, yeah, we work out a time. We'll sure do it. And boy, did we play great. We played terrific and won the game. We over there got beat, of course, but we really had a great game there. Peter Chilcutt got to come home. I had a hard time losing him, but I did lose him.
I think he lives in, I want to say he lives in Salt Lake City now somewhere. But all right, let's tell them about Bob Prince and Prince Glover and Hayes. We'll get to break and get Kevin Skarbinski in.
I actually talked to Bob last night. I called him, and Bob, Prince Glover and Hayes at 345-1234 are people that can help you if you need a problem. You've had an accident. You've had somebody come after you. There's been some problems in as far as you getting where you need to get, and you've fallen, and you're hurt, and you feel like that you owe some compensation, or if somebody's coming after you, it's a lot of things. But the thing that I want to emphasize on to you is that you're mentally and physically, if you're injured, mentally you don't know exactly what to do, but you've got problems. So Prince Glover and Hayes are the people to call. They know it. They've been, and they're not going to take the case if the case is no good. But you call them at 345-1234 and find out exactly where you stand with this. They'll go out and represent you, and I think they'll do a great job. 345-1234, Prince Glover Hayes.
PrinceLaw.net is the website. If they don't win, you don't pay. We get to Kevin's.
From his multiple Netflix specials, comedian Tom Segura brings his new tour, Come Together, to Mercedes-Benz Amphitheater Friday, August 30th. Tickets on sale Friday, 10 a.m. at TomSegura.com/tour.
You're listening to Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. Yellowwood pressure-treated pine from Great Southern Wood. If it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, you don't want it. We got a message from one of our listeners, Dad. He's right. I looked it up. Brock, appreciate that. That's why we have the listeners. Peter Chilcutt now does the color for North Carolina basketball. So he's
they lost a young man who played against us in my final game against him. He had cancer.
Yeah, so I think there's 2 or 3 players. I'm looking here. Former basketball stars Joel Berry, Pete Chilcutt, Marcus Ginyard, and Tyler Zettel will step into the role of color analysts on Tar Heel Sports Network. So if anybody has Peter Chilcutt's phone number, send it to him. We ought to try to get Peter on the show, especially with Alabama and North Carolina playing. All right, let's get to the Yellowwood hotline and get in our good friend Kevin Skarbinski. Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
Morning.
Good morning, fellas. I'm good. Yes, sadly, you guys, of course, remember Eric Montross, the big center for North Carolina. He passed away after battling cancer, and he was the color analyst for Tar Heel Radio. So it's nice to hear that Peter is one of the guys stepping in there. Of course, I personally remember, Wimp, that you scheduled a home and home with North Carolina while Pete was there, and got to cover both games in Tuscaloosa. And I believe you won the one in Tuscaloosa. They got the one in Chapel Hill, but got to go to the Dean Dome and see that, experience that. So it's going to be an interesting matchup to see that rivalry, mini rivalry, renewed on Thursday night.
Yeah, I need to get Pete Chilcutt's number, try to get him on the show. Kevin, I follow you on Twitter. The officiating in the NCAA tournament, not good. Whew. Not good. I tell you what, that Houston Texas A&M game, the first half, they were absolutely murdering each other. The Alabama game was not very good. The game last night, Iowa, was not good. What an advantage to get to play at home in the women's tournament. I have never understood that. Talk about the officiating in this tournament. I just don't think it's been very good. It's not getting really any attention, really. I don't see much about it.
No, and I think that's what, coaches like yourselves coaches I've known through the years, the one thing that just seems to drive you guys up the wall more than anything is that inconsistency. And we're seeing it not just from game to game, but we're seeing it within games. There will be stretches where they call every touch foul, it seems. Then there are other times it turns into a mud wrestling match, and they allow it to happen. We've seen some critical mistakes. The foul call on the incredible chase down block of a Kansas dunk by Samford's A.J. Staten-McRae literally changed that game with 14 seconds left.
Yeah.
Samford's down 1. They got the rebound. There were only in the picture. There were only 3 Samford players who got the rebound. They would have had a 5-on-4 coming back down the floor, down 1, because Timberlake for Kansas went to the floor after he got his dunk blocked. And, so Samford's in a great position to have a shot to win the game. You don't know if they'll make it, but they call a foul. And it's just mind-boggling. And again, there have been so many moments like that. The officials have been far too big a part of the game. And then, of course, the early flagrant 2 against Chad Baker-Mazara from Auburn. It certainly changes the game when you lose a guy as valuable as he has been to that team. It's really not a reason for Auburn to lose to Yale, though. That's a little bit of an excuse there. Given as deep as that team is and that you are playing Yale, you should win that game even without him. But that was a critical call. That did it have to be a flagrant 2? Could it have been a flagrant 1? Et cetera. Yeah, it's just the officials have been far too prominent a part of these games, which they're not supposed to be.
Yeah. I can tell you how bad it is. Pat Adams is moving on, and he's one of the worst ones. I don't know how he keeps moving on.
Yeah, and I read the Barry that last night that they released the names of the officials who will be there in the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 rounds, and none of the 3 officials who did the Auburn-Yale game are moving on.
Yeah,
small consolation for Auburn, of course, but it's interesting. That's a question. Do officials? And you saw it suggested. Do officials? And a lot of times you're seeing guys who you haven't seen as a team, or they haven't seen your team in person. But do guys have reputations? Chad Baker-Mazara has a reputation as a guy who gets involved in stuff. And does that precede them? Do officials, it's just an interesting thought that do they sometimes make calls based on reputation as much as the situation and what happened in the moment?
Yeah.
I think in that particular case, and I think you're all right, because I'm not, how I am about stuff like that. He was hit and not called, and so many times the second guy is the one who they see. And from my understanding, I'm not taking up for him at all, because I don't like the way he plays at times. But I think maybe that he had been hit. He was trying to get back, and when you get back, that's the time they catch you and kick you.
That's exactly what happened.
I just have always been what you don't contend with will ultimately contend with you. And Bruce Pearl, I love Bruce Pearl, but he's let those guys act like that all year. And Chapman's he's run his mouth all year, and it will always come back and get you at the most critical time of the season. For that, they let it go on all year, him acting like that, and it got him, Kevin, at the most important time of the season.
And that's a really good point, because that is true. Again, he developed a reputation throughout this year, his first year at Auburn after transferring. He'd been at a couple of other programs first. And is that something that came back to bite him, that the officials knew to watch out for this dude? Because he did take a shot earlier. And then on the flip side, look at Nick Pringle on Sunday night in Alabama's second round game. He was on the edge emotionally early. I mean, takes that clipboard, slams the clipboard down. Piece of it breaks off. He gets a technical. He got almost horse-collared at one point, and was they did call a foul on Grand Canyon, but he was so mad. One of his own teammates tried to calm him down, and he basically flung his teammate off. It looked like he was on the edge of losing it. but he got it back. He channeled it. He channeled his emotion in a positive direction from there. And
I think he personally has it all the time.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. I mentioned the other day about the way Auburn plays at home. Chad, he threw the ball behind his back twice. Mm-hmm. And one of them tried to dunk it. The better you think I am, I start hollering for you. I want to show you some other things I can do too. And I think Barry's correct. I had mentioned it. I thought they played out of sorts because of the crowd.
Are you talking about Auburn or Alabama?
Auburn.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt. Look, and that's why, when the committee is looking at teams, when they're evaluating teams, whether to put them in or not, where to seed them, if they're safely in, how to bracket them, they look at how you did on the road in neutral site games, because there are no home, unlike the women's tournament, as you mentioned, Barry, there are no home games in the men's tournament. There are home crowd advantages, which Alabama and Auburn enjoyed a year ago. Alabama earned that. Auburn, as a 9 seed, really didn't. They were very fortunate to get to play Iowa and then Houston, a 1 seed with a home crowd advantage here in Birmingham. But you've got to be able to play on the road, and you've got to be able to play away from home. And sometimes you wonder if a team is a home court creation because they have such a great home crowd, and they truly have built a great home court advantage in Auburn. But obviously, and their fans travel. They've done a great job of traveling with their team, and they've built support. Bruce has done a great job building support there. But you've got to be able to play in adverse situations.
Yeah. Kevin, let's look at this Alabama-North Carolina game. Obviously, Alabama's going to stay out there, much like Dad's team did when they had to go up and play Loyola Marymount. If you're out west, you might as well stay out west. So they're acclimated. There, North Carolina's got to fly. It's a 3-hour time change for those guys going out. I'm sure they're probably going out today. But Mark Sears has been he's been terrific. How much NIL money has he earned in this tournament? If he wants to come back to Alabama, if they don't want to pay him, then somebody will. Just talk about this matchup, Kevin.
Yeah, first of all, on Sears, he's earned every dollar everybody wants to give him with the way he's played all year long. And I'll tell you what, and I thought the same thing, and Nate Oates said it afterwards. That was clearly his best defensive game.
Yeah.
On Sunday night. If he can guard like that and score 26 points and grab 12 rebounds and get 6 assists, it may take something along those lines for them to beat North Carolina, because as usual, they are immensely talented. They've got an All-American at guard in R.J. Davis. Their other immensely talented guard is now playing for Arizona, Caleb Love, he's a bit of a mercurial player himself. So everybody's looking for a North Carolina-Arizona Elite Eight game. But they're discounting Alabama a little bit, and obviously North Carolina is the favorite. They've got the bigs inside with what is this? What is about the 10th year? Is Armando Bacot a 10th year NCAA player?
He's got to be 30. There's no way he's not 30.
He's one of those 27. He looks like one of those 27-year-olds John Calipari was talking about last night when he was explaining what happened on the radio show. One of the most anticipated radio shows in Kentucky history. He's talking about playing a bunch of 27-year-olds. That's certainly what Armando Bacot looks like. And then they got Harrison Ingram. But they're not invincible. North Carolina is very, very good, and they are number 6 in the country in KenPom in defensive efficiency. They've been very good defensively all year long, and they have the explosive ability. Like against Michigan State, they were down 12 in the first half. They were down 8 at the under 8 timeout in the first half. And Hubert Davis got into his guys, didn't talk X's and O's. He just got into them and said, "Guys, they're beating us up. They're out fighting us. We got to start fighting." And he didn't mean literally. You know what I mean? We got to start competing. You got to start showing me something here. I'm not going to talk about basketball until you show me you want to get in this fight, because they're taking it to us. And they went on a 20-3 run from there the rest of the half and really took control of the game, although State did come back on them in the second half, made it a little tight at one point. But it's a very difficult assignment for Alabama. But again, if they're going to compete at the level they competed against Grand Canyon, if Nick Pringle is going to play with that kind of fire and that kind of and again channel that energy and emotion in a good direction. If Mo Diabate, and how big was he in the last 5.5 minutes? They don't win that game without what he did down the stretch. So Alabama's got they've got the weapons they need to win this game, but it will be a challenge. North Carolina is one of the most talented teams in the country. Alabama's not far behind, but the bigs are going to have to step up. Pringle, Diabate. And then Mark Sears just has to be Mark Sears because he has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I better keep my mouth shut. I think Alabama has terrific, a little bit more of a chance of winning than most people do. I think they're good. I don't think they're great. I'd like to say they're overrated, but I won't say that.
You talk about North Carolina, Whip?
Yeah. I just. I don't know.
I mean, of the number one seeds, although Houston is kind of beat up, they're the ones you'd want to play. You don't want to play UConn. Yes. You don't want to play Purdue.
That's
for sure.
Absolutely.
So I would say they're number
think
4.
Of it. Yeah. And there was a debate. A lot of people thought Tennessee deserved that fourth number one seed rather than North Carolina. So they were the. And again, this is all relative. They're not weak, but they were the weakest number one seed. So Alabama's fortunate in that regard because Alabama was not the strongest 4 seed based on the metrics, but they got the weakest 1 seed in the Sweet 16. So and Wimp, because Wimp, you said this, the importance of scheduling. And sometimes you just have to get fortunate in the tournament. Alabama obviously played a 13 seed in Charleston in the first round, but they played a 13 seed that played the way they play. And Charleston was not going to beat Alabama at its own game. And that's why, even though the score doesn't reflect it, it wasn't that close a game, but it was a high-powered offensive game. And Charleston just wasn't going to beat Alabama. That was a good matchup in playing that 13 seed. Rather than playing, Samford plays the same way, so maybe that would have been the same kind of result. But that was a good matchup for Alabama. And then because of an upset in the first round, I don't know how much of an upset it was. St. Mary's loses to Grand Canyon in the first round, so instead of Alabama playing a 5 seed in the second round, they get a 12 seed. Yeah. And there's look, Grand Canyon's a good team, and obviously they gave Alabama all they wanted, but sometimes the schedule's got to break right. And then this North Carolina team, like we said, it's definitely the worst or weakest of the 1 seed. They're definitely gettable. I'll say that.
I wouldn't want to play Charleston at home. Not their place.
Charleston at home? They ain't going to Charleston.
Who was the team they played first?
Charleston.
Huh?
What do you mean
Charleston.
You wouldn't want to play them at home?
I don't want to play them at their place.
No. No, you don't want to do that. No, Kevin, what does Kentucky need to do? I know Calipari, he's almost was politicking for his job last night. And everything he says turns the Kentucky fan off now. They're sick of hearing it. They don't care how high his guys get drafted. They don't care that they're playing against 27-year-olds. There comes a time when the mayor is just not going to work. Now, Dad's like, well, you got to know who you can get. I would throw the kitchen sink at Hurley at UConn. But what does Kentucky need to do here?
It is a really, really difficult decision. You don't spend $33 million easily. And that's what it would take to buy him out if you want to fire him. Now, there are other ways. Look, if he's determined to stay, that makes it more. If you think a change is needed, and I think a lot of people feel that way, and I went back and broke. For example, he has done amazing things for Kentucky. He's been in charge of a lot of victories. They've sent a lot of guys to the NBA. They've won SEC championships. They've been to Final Fours, but a lot of that happened up until 2015.
Yeah.
They haven't been the same program since they lost to Wisconsin in the national semifinals. Remember, they were with Karl Anthony Towns. They were 38-0 the heavy favorite to win it all in 2015, and they get upset by Wisconsin in the national semifinals. Well, if you break down Cal's record in the NCAA tournament with Kentucky, I believe I did this the other day. They were 22-4 at that point, from 2010 to 2015. They went to several Final Fours. I think it was 3 or 4 Final Fours. They won the 2012 national title. So they had an incredible run. But since 2015, their record in the NCAA tournament is 10-7. That shouldn't happen at Kentucky.
Right.
And you shouldn't lose 2 out of 3 years in the first round to a double-digit seed, as they did to St. Peter's and then 2 years ago and then Oakland last weekend. It just shouldn't happen. So you can definitely see the need for a change there, for not just for Kentucky, but for Cal. It's just not working the way that they expect it to work. And again, I go back to what you said. When it's always about expectations. This is not what Kentucky expects. He's not meeting the standard of the job. So you can make a case based on that it's time to make a change. But that's always the kicker. Who are you going to get, and will that person? How sure are you that person will be better than the guy you got?
Yeah.
And look, a lot of people have won at Kentucky. The next guy will win at Kentucky. Will he win the way Calipari did from 10 to 15, or will it be more like 2016 to now? So I don't know, but you can do it. People say you can't spend $33 million to get rid of a basketball coach. Well, Texas A&M spent $75 million. Now I know Kentucky's not Texas A&M. The state of Kentucky is not the state of Texas. I don't think they have oil wells in Kentucky. They don't have that kind of money to throw around. So it is a very, very difficult situation. Here, if I were the AD, here's probably if I were Mitch Barnhart, my thought would be, all right, you have a long sit down with Cal. I think they're supposed to meet today to talk about the state of the program. I want to know what he's going to do differently. If you're going to bring the same staff back, and that's the one thing he said on that radio show last night. I couldn't believe when I read this. I didn't hear it, but I read it, that they didn't focus on stopping Golke, the three-point shooter, because there have been games where he went 1 for 10 or something. Well, he also shot like 90% of his shots from three. He was one of the leading three-point shooters in the country. For him to say they didn't focus on stopping him, they were focused on Newton, the other their post player, their versatile post player for Oakland, that's just, I can't believe he said that.
Well, he said, one of the films he was watching, he was like 1 for 9, so he went on to another player. Like, what?
If nothing else, you focus on him after the half.
You certainly don't say that, though. You don't say that at the radio show.
I know.
You got to have more sense than that.
That's out of touch. That makes it sound like you're out of touch.
Yeah.
Like you are not focused on your business. And even if that was the case,
you don't say
it.
Right.
You don't tell people that the guy that torched you for 10 threes, one short of the NCAA record in a tournament game, you don't tell people that you didn't focus on him. And like you just said, Whip, you could have maybe you should have focused on him in the second half a little more after he torched you in the first half.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I think not a farewell tour, but saying, okay, Cal's going to do this one. He's going to come back. He's decided he's going to, after next year, he's going to, do something else. He's going to be an ambassador for the university, whatever. But he wants to, he's earned one more opportunity to take this program where it expects to be. They've got another top-rated recruiting class coming in. Maybe some of those guys will be smart and come back, because those guys were not ready for prime time. Those youngsters, those freshmen in that NCAA tournament game for sure.
No.
So, and again, what are you going to do differently? Go in the portal, get somebody with some experience. Don't think you have to have all these 5 stars, these one and done guys who, while they're super talented, they were not. They folded and they didn't want the ball. You could tell there seemed to be no rhyme or reason to what they were doing down the stretch. Not unlike Auburn, who did come apart, and everybody praised Auburn, including me, for winning all those games by double digits. When it came to a close game, they clearly weren't ready for it, and clearly didn't handle it very well.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, I wish we could go on the whole show.
Yes.
We got to get to break here, but tell everybody where they can find you and get all your great stuff.
Yeah, the best thing to do is follow me on Twitter at Kevin Skarbinski. You'll get links to my Monday columns in the Birmingham Lead, to my Thursday newsletter, which you can find on AL.com/sports. Lots and lots of basketball in there this month, of course, and we'll continue that for a while now as we go into the Sweet 16 round. And you got to check out on my website, and I haven't put anything on there in a while, kevinskarbinski.com. I wrote a song about Samford's loss to Kansas. I thought it was so epic, and the song, the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, was in my head. And so go to my website. It's free. Read. I called it The Wreck of the Bucky McMillan. And it is, you have to read it with that song in mind, though. And think of it as if Gordon Lightfoot is singing it. I sang it and actually recorded it, but I can't sing, so I'm not. Nobody's ever going to hear that. But,
let us play it. Let us play it. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. It's been fun.
Thank you. There's Kevin Skarbinski. He's got an unbelievable memory, too, about certain things. All right, we'll take this break. It's a Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. One of our accidents on McFarland Boulevard has cleared. This one was working in the eastbound direction near Upper Columbus in Northport. Again, that scene is now cleared. All lanes open. There is one before that, though. This is back in the Buell area, eastbound McFarland and Shelley Hughes Road, although no major backups are being.
First day. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Eddie Garcia.
News from Major League Baseball, where LA Dodgers star Shohei Ohtani addressed the media for the first time since the betting scandal involving his interpreter broke. Ohtani, who read from a prepared statement and did not take any questions, claims that he has never bet nor ever asked anyone to bet for him on sporting events, and that it was his former interpreter who lied and stole money from him to pay off his gambling debts. In the NBA, the Nuggets beat the Grizzlies 128-103. Denver now holds the top spot in the Western Conference. They're a game up on Oklahoma City and a game and a half up on Minnesota. The Thunder and the Timberwolves both had the night off. Celtics lose to the Hawks 120-118. Atlanta was down 30 points. They rally back to knock off the top team in the NBA, Boston, falling to 57-15 on the season.
Guaranteed. Text support to 511-511. Morning Kick. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
Inside the locker room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to the second hour of Inside the Locker Room. We want to thank Yellowwood, who made our 7 o'clock hour possible. If it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, you don't want it. Go to yellowwood.com to find the dealer closest to you. As we get to this 8 o'clock hour, we want to thank Andrew Kniffer. He's my Allstate insurance agent. Let him become yours. He's out at 4705 McFarland Boulevard, Suite 3 over in Northport. Give he and his staff a call, 205-722-9201. Looking for home, life, auto, whatever you need there from Andrew. They will be happy to take care of you. Once again, 205-722-9201. Phone lines are open, 205-342-9904 if you want to get in on the show with us this morning. All right, let's look a little deeper into the Alabama game. Dad, what do they need to do? They do have to guard the post. North Carolina will throw the ball inside the Baycott, who's averaging 14 games. He's not their leading scorer. R.J. Davis is a little over 20 a game. But defensively on that, Ian, obviously they're going to have to shoot threes. They're going to need Grant Nelson to play much better. But what are some of the keys to a game like this against the Tar Heels?
I think the big key is defensive rebounding.
Okay.
I think for two reasons. One is if they defensive rebound and be able to score inside because they're pretty gifted inside, that's hurt you. if the defensive rebound and can't shoot inside, but take it back out or run their offense and run some clock and make you go over screens, that's detrimental to you. So my thinking would be that your defensive boards are more important in this game because you need to control the tempo yourself. You want to play fast, but I think you really got to do a good job of not doing anything. And I think the board work is going to be critical.
As far as Sears, they're going to try to do some different things defensively, probably to him, although nobody's been to see him be able to stop him. Some guys he's such a relentless driver. If he gets his shoulders by you, he's downhill, and he's a great layup shooter. And when you leave him open, he makes shots there. Let
me correct myself there. I meant offensive boards.
Yeah.
Not defensive boards. I'm sorry. The offensive boards give you an opportunity to put the ball back and score inside. The offensive boards give you a chance to throw the ball back out and for North Carolina to run what they need to run. I didn't mean defense. I didn't mean to say defensive boards. I meant offensive boards. Defensive boards are darn important, but the offensive boards sort of makes you control the tempo of the game. So I think that's important. If they can't score inside, they get it back out and run their stuff. What I would do with Sears, and I know you got to have a guy like this. You need a tall player. You need a tall person. I got to see him do this one time against a great baseball player in NIT and put Wendell on him. You put a tall person on him with quick feet. Now I don't know if that you can't put. I don't think you can put North Carolina's point guard on him. I don't think he's good enough. But I think you put somebody that's got some size on. If you've got somebody that's got pretty quick feet with some kind of arm, and an unusual guy. He can't get by you, but he's got to have quick feet. But I think somewhere in my thinking is size against smaller guys is huge in blocking shots, going after the three-point shot, those kind of things. And I don't know North Carolina's personnel that well, but that's what they need.
All right, let's get to the Andrew Conifer hotline and get Tom into the show. Good morning, Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Morning. How are y'all this morning?
We're good.
We're okay.
You know, I can't believe that that we hadn't been talking about the LSU coach and the Louisiana paper reporter guys this morning.
We have him on at 8:15.
Right.
But I don't even know what happened. I've been busy. Tell us what's happened with the articles.
Well, it's about the media, Coach, and it's about her attacking that Barry's best friend from over at South Carolina,
Kent Babb.
And he works for the most corrupt media outlet in the history of media, the Washington Post.
Okay.
And they have a terrible record for being accurate. They're never accurate. They're a bunch of liars.
Yeah.
And also, I wanted you to bring up the fact about Oshante, the Japanese pitcher for the Dodgers, that they're going all out in the Dodger and Major League Baseball to protect him from being in a gambling scandal. And Pete Rose yesterday said it better than anybody. That if I'd had an interpreter, I'd be scot-free. You're right, Pete, but you know what? You wasn't the face of an organization trying to go to international fame with their products, so therefore this is hugely embarrassing.
Well, I usually answer your question. I'm gonna turn that question over to Barry.
Well,
and let him
I don't know if Kent Babb. Let me tell you this about Kim Mulkey is smug and arrogant, and when you act the way she acts, people are going to come after you. So it's fine. You want to act that way, but you like it. But also reporters don't, and I'm sure she's crossed up. So But you can bet the story's coming out. Her little press conference threatening everybody is not going to stop this story. I can promise you that. It's going to be read 10 times. It's going to be read 10 times more because she had the press conference than it would have been if she wouldn't have said anything.
You know what one of his questions was 5 minutes before she went into a ball game last Thursday? You didn't do enough when Brittany Griner was in Russia. You didn't speak up enough. That's one of the actions he's got to grind with her.
A lot of people want that question answered. Why did she not? Was there a problem?
Why should she?
Well, I mean, the girl played for her. She's over there being hell. Why shouldn't she?
I thought she got caught doing something illegal in Russia. She needs her to come defend her?
I mean, you know, Tom, you think Russia was on the up and up with that?
You think Brittany Griner didn't have hash oil in her bag?
I bet she probably has some in there, but to keep her in jail for a year? I mean, I ain't no Brittany Griner fan.
The United States?
I ain't no Brittany
To try
Griner.
to embarrass you?
Yeah. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know, Tom. I mean, I'm not a Brittany Griner fan. I'm not a Kent Babb fan, and I'm not a Kim Mulkey fan. So, but the guy the guy we're going to be talking to here in about 3 minutes is he loves Kim Mulkey.
I like that.
So you'll be happy.
All right. See you.
Thank you. All right. We'll get to this break here, and then we'll get to our man Ron Higgins in. Royal Cleaners, they want to make your life easy in Houthani. I don't think he knew about it. I know I may be naive, but this guy's, I promise you they'll find it if he did. He says he's never bet whatsoever. So we'll see. Royal Cleaners, they'll come right to you, pick up all your cleaning, get it cleaned up, and deliver it right back. If you want to drop off, University Boulevard, Bridge Avenue in Northport, or 4851 Rice Mine Road. For all your cleaning needs, give them a call today, 205-391-0034. We'll get to Ron Higgins next. We'll dig into the Kim Mulkey story. You listen to Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We are looking at a couple of areas of heavy slowing to contend with. One of them is southbound 43 approaching McFarland, southbound 69 approaching Union Chapel as well. Both have significant slowdowns, although neither is all that unusual for this time of the morning.
Line at Dell.com/deals. You'll have access to leading edge technology and free shipping on everything. Again, that's Dell.com/deals.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Any lingering showers ending this morning. The sky becoming partially sunny by mid to late afternoon. The high today 74. Fair and cooler tonight, the low 68. Tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny. The high in the upper 60s at 68 degrees. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 55 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Two-time state champion and two-time NIT champion Barry Sanderson breaks down the latest in sports on Inside the Locker Room on Tide 100.9.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. We get right to the Yellowwood Hotline. If you want to get Ron's stuff, Ron Higgins, he covers LSU. We love having Ron on. Shreveport, BossierJournal.com. Did we just lose Dad? We just lost Dad. But good morning, Ron. How you doing this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
We're good. Dad's phone just dropped for some reason, so I guess he didn't pay his phone bill. But tell us, update us. We heard Kim Mulkey. Kent Babb was actually in Columbia when I was coaching at the University of South Carolina, so I do know Kent, and he's working, I guess, for the Washington Post right now. Tell us where everything stands there, Ron, right now with that story.
Well, I mean, they haven't printed yet. Kim thinks it's going to be a hit piece. I don't know if it's going to be a hit piece or not. She's been kind of a little bit. I guess she's tired. I guess she's tired of what she calls clickbait journalism, and I don't disagree with her on that point. There's a lot of stuff that's out there that It's just a false narrative, just not about her, about a lot of different things. And misleading information, misleading headlines. As a journalist in 45 years, it's disheartening that this garbage gets out there. But it's just, again, it's not just her. It's about a lot of different, anything basically. It's designed so they can get clicks, and more clicks means more income and more money. And I guess that's the disheartening part about journalism now, is that it really isn't kind of journalism. It's just like people who aren't qualified to be journalists are getting a platform, and and a lot of their stuff's not accurate. And I think that's what bothers her a lot. And honestly, it bothers me a lot.
What do you anticipate? What do you anticipate coming out in this story, Ron? Have you heard any news about what Kent Babb's been digging? I heard Kim Mulkey's side. He's been calling former players. He'll let them speak anonymously if that's true. That's what she said. So she's trying to get ahead of this thing. What kind of stuff do we anticipate might come out in this particular story?
I don't know. Maybe they're going to write a story like you'd write on Nick Saban. But you know what? Nick Saban's not a nice guy, everybody. You know what? So what? Coaches don't have to be nice to everybody. Part of their job is making decisions a lot of people don't like, or saying things a lot of people don't like. That could be it. Look, Kim reminds me an awful lot of, in a way, of Steve Spurrier. They're unfiltered. They're going to say what they're going to say. You may not like what they're going to say or the way it's delivered, but they're going to say it, and they're going to own it. I've always liked coaches like that. Coaches who just, they don't filter their stuff, and they say what they mean. And she does, and people don't like that. They don't like her because the outfit she wears, which I tried to explain before, that's the only places she wears those outfits. She doesn't. That's kind of like her suit of armor for games. And then she says, and she often says, "Listen, I wear that outfit to get attention. That gets me attention from my program. That gets me attention for people to watch my program, to buy tickets, and for me to get recruits. That's why I wear that."
Yeah.
And well, people not like this analogy, but she wears those outfits like she wore the plaid jacket.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's her point. That's exactly her point. Hey, if this helps my program get attention, and if it helps me get recruits and gets noticed, I'll wear it. But I'm not going to wear it anywhere else. But I'll wear it in a game, on the game night. But I'm not going to wear it out, go to dinner. And that's what people kind of misconstrue about her. Does she, they don't like the way she coaches because she gets into referees, and she doesn't sit there like a demure female on the bench and, never, get into anybody or her players or refs. She's not like that. She's never been like that. From the time she was 7 years old, as playing an all-boys baseball league in Hammond, Louisiana, to all the way through her career, she's kind of led with her chin, and just kind of that's the way she is. And a lot of people don't like that, but everybody coaches a different way.
Yeah, that.
The future for her. When you have women's basketball, you usually have a team that is so far ahead of everybody else that it's not even funny. It hurts the league. Of course, South Carolina fits that mold. I guess LSU comes in second. What's the future for her, Elliot? What's the future for their program versus South Carolina? Sorry. What's the future there? Are they going to be able to catch them? When you interview the head coach at South Carolina, it has surprised me. Her interviews have been down to earth, not any way over the line that I thought maybe they might be because of whatever. I've been surprised at the way she has been interviewed. Kind of talk about the South Carolina versus LSU series.
It's a great series. I mean, like Dawn Staley's been in South Carolina for like about 16, 17 years now. Has built a great program. And look, when Kim got to LSU 2-3 years ago, she said, that's who we want to be like. We want to be like South Carolina, what Dawn Staley has built. She's been very complimentary of Dawn Staley. I mean, Kim built that type of program at Baylor over 20 years, and it takes time to build that program. And Kim has been nothing but complimentary of Dawn Staley. That's what everybody tries to pit this Dawn Staley versus Kim Mulkey rivalry.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah.
And Kim doesn't look at it that way. She looks at Kim respects anybody who knows how to win and win consistently because she's done it. I mean, for her career, she's averaged like almost 30 wins a year. So, in 24, this is the 24th year of the head coach, she probably averages 30 wins a year. So she respects people who build winning programs and maintain them year in and year out.
Yeah.
So she has a lot of respect on him, and that's the whole what's misconstrued here. She has a lot of respect for Dawn Staley. She doesn't dislike Dawn Staley. She likes the competitive aspect of it. And that whole thing a couple of weeks ago when they had that shoving match during the game, Dawn Staley says she apologizes for it. Kim Pelly wasn't apologizing. Mulkey wasn't apologizing because basically she said what needed to be said. That would have never happened if the officials had gotten hold of the game right away with all the trash talking and stuff going on early in the game. And if you've been in those games before, official will call both coaches over and say, you tell your teams to cut it out or we're going to start handing out technical fouls. That's all they had to do.
Yeah.
They never did it. They just let it go and go and go. And so what happens at the end of the game, LSU player intentionally fouls somebody. Not a bad intentional foul. It wasn't a hard one. Foul. She gets up. She's walking toward her bench. One South Carolina player runs at her, starts talking trash to her. And then another one runs right up in her face and is talking trash to her. And she just kind of elbows her out the way. And that's when the big girl from South Carolina came in and knocked her down. Took a run, started knocked her down. That's when everything kind of broke loose. None of that would ever happen if the officials had gotten control of this game early in the game, but they didn't. They let it go.
Yeah, I don't know that they have in ladies basketball any what you refer to as top-notch officials. There's some that are called top-notch in the men's area, which I don't think are top-notch, but there are a few in the lady, just very, very few which we call ladies or guys or whoever who called ladies basketball for a long time. In high school basketball, they call too many cotton ticket fouls. In college, it's a little bit different, I guess.
Yeah, they kind of let it go in college. I mean, and that's understood. I mean, they let them play, which is good, but also you've got to watch out for just the trash talking and the taunting because then it kind of gets personal. Then people start throwing elbows.
Yeah.
And then gets out of control. Again, it was obvious from the early minutes of that game. That's what that game. I mean, you could see the elbow and you could see the trash talking. You could see everything. Yeah. And they just kind of, and nobody was ever warned. And so that kind of, it's the end of the game and it gets intense. And that's what happens. But again, there's no hatred or rivalry between Dawn Staley and Kim Mulkey. Again, Kim respects Dawn Staley in that program because they know how to win. And she doesn't dislike her personally. It's just very competitive. These are two very competitive coaches who, as players, they were very competitive.
That to me, that's a very interesting answer. The question I wanted to bring it out. That question wasn't great, but I thought you gave a very interesting answer there because I think other people think quite opposite of that. I think that they think it's not only team versus team, it's woman versus woman. I heard her apologize. I've heard her, Dawn Staley, on other shows, and I don't think it's fake. I'm pretty good say a lot sometimes about stuff, but if it's fake, I usually know it. Hers is not. Hers is, she apologized for the problem, and I think that's interesting to our listeners. One other thing I want to ask you before Barry gets back, where is the basketball program at LSU as far as money to buy players? Is the ability to recruit those players with that money? Where is the LSU men's basketball program?
Wimp, I just don't. I don't think they have the money to go out and get the best players they can get. And I think that's the problem.
They got trouble then. Is football getting it?
Well, football gets it. Well, women's basketball gets it. But it's like 3 of the 4 top NIL earners among all athletes in college sports. I mean, I'm not saying 3 of the top athletes among the top 10 in men and women in college sports who are NIL earners are LSU women athletes, and 2 of them are in the basketball team, women's basketball team.
Cool.
Angel Reese and Flau'jae Johnson on that. There's right now there's 4 players on the LSU women's basketball team who have shoe contracts with major companies. Angel Reese has one with Reebok. A freshman, Michaela Williams, just signed with Jordan. Haley Van Lith just signed with Adidas. These people have. What
you're telling me is this: when you're a borderline basketball team and you're a man, because of something that's happened that we don't hear about a lot, a great player, a great coach, all that kind of stuff, people flock to the women to give the NIL rather than to the men. And I believe that's happened at LSU.
Yeah, that's happened at LSU, yeah. I mean, honestly, that's why really, women's basketball, as far as NCAA tournament, is selling more tickets than the men's basketball because they have these bigger, more dynamic personalities, and they're kind of allowed to show them and be that way.
Well, what's the answer? What's the answer to with your AD? Can you not go? Does he have enough clout to go to his AD and tell him what's hurting them as far as recruiting is concerned or not?
I mean, they're trying to get money for men's basketball, but they have no problem getting for football. They have no problem getting for women's basketball or baseball. It's almost like you have to. It's a catch-22. It's like you almost have to prove you can win before anybody believes to give you NIL money.
I tell you what, I'd like to see Dale Brown there now.
Yeah, I mean, I talk to Dale every other week, and Dale looks at this stuff like it's a circus, like a lot of coaches do who in the past. I mean, think about if you were coaching now, Wimpy, and you were like Nick Saban, you came back at let's say a Final Four run or whatever, and you put together your team for next year, and you're excited, and then you have 4 of your starters walk in and say, "Hey, we need more money, or we're leaving." I mean, that would eventually drive me out of the business too. I would say, "What the hell with this? Really?"
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Is there a solution to this? I don't know. Now, I was thinking the other day, but maybe a solution is like, say, to limit the amount of you can only get so many scholarships you can give, you can award for transfers. Maybe would that cut it down on the transfers? I don't know, because then again, you can still buy players. So if the guy wants to say walk on your program and have some sugar daddy pay a big salary for him, that's still legal too, I guess. So I don't know what the solution is on the transfers and the NIL money, which seems to basically fuel each other. They really do fuel each other. I mean,
all right, got you another one here. Your coach that left.
Yeah, let me ask this one.
Yeah, that Barry. I want Barry to ask this. He's going to love this question.
No, 2 things. I want you to tell me, because I think you like him, and it's fine, and I may be wrong. Tell me what kind of guy is Will Wade, number 1. And number 2, if I hired him, if Louisville, which I don't think Louisville's going to hire him, what comes with him? So if I hire him, with his show calls, what happens to my university for whatever he has with the NCAA?
You get a guy who, as he said, I probably need to get taken down a notch, and I did.
Okay.
What happened at LSU? You get a guy who is a really open and nice human being to almost everybody he meets. He cares about the people around him. He's approachable. He's not a jerk. And people still like him here in Baton Rouge. They were ecstatic for his year at McNeese, when they went 30-3, I think. As he said, McNeese needed me, and I needed McNeese.
Barry not liking that.
I want to know what he's really like, and I want to know what does he still have NCAA wise. So if you hire him, what happens to you?
Well, apparently the NCAA. I mean, as far as I know, he served his penance or whatever. I mean, when McNeese hired him, the NCAA told him that you have to suspend him for the first 6 or 7 games. So they did that, and so they just suspended him, and basically, I don't think there's a show calls on him at all. If Louisville want to hire him, they could hire him. You get you get a really good basketball coach. You get a basketball coach who says what he thinks. If you want a guy who's got a personality like that, I enjoyed dealing with him and covering him because he was open and he went after officials, which I always like. That's okay. I think, and players like playing for him. He was a player's coach. Every kid who plays for him loved playing for Will Wade. I didn't hear one play, not one player. They liked playing for the guy.
I learned something too.
It says here, Will Wade's show calls penalty will run from June 22nd, 2023 to June 21, 2025. The show calls means that McNeese State would have to demonstrate a reason that Wade should not be held to the restrictions, the game suspension, and recruiting limitations. So it's on him until 2025. I think that's what's scaring people away.
Yeah, you know what? And he's fine where he is, okay? He's happy to be back in coaching. He's happy where he is. I don't think he's in a hurry right now to leave. I think he feels – I'll be stunned if he left at this point. I think he feels an obligation to be where he is now because he went to a school in a town that was ravaged by a hurricane like 2-3 years ago. They had a hurricane hit Lake Charles and just tore the hell out of that city. Damaged McNeese's athletic facilities. Really damaged that city. And you had people leaving there. The football coach was there, left there, came to LSU, back to LSU as an assistant. People wanted to get out of there, and he took the job knowing that town kind of needed a boost.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
And he needed a boost, and he really did. He'll admit that he goes, I needed this too, and so he again. The only thing Will Wade did was he broke NCAA rules, and he did it in a really dumb way, and now basically everything. Everything's no longer on the table. It's over the top of the table. It's all over the place as far as buying athletes. So if he went back to a major program now, he'd probably be really, really, really successful. But he can get the players he wants because he can just go buy them now. There's no pretension about it.
Yeah.
And like I said, players like playing for him.
Well,
they enjoy playing for him.
I think they ought to take those restrictions off myself.
Yeah, and the fans like
why do you that irritates me. When he was doing that, he broke the rules. You don't go back and take the sanctions off now. What he did, it was against the rules.
Well,
I don't
those
understand
other
that
gurus
thinking. I don't understand that line of thinking. Now, he's paying his penalty. I think he's hireable after 2020.
I think it's too long.
As I look at his thing here, 2025, he's being held to a lot of these things.
Too long.
After that, they'll probably hire him. Somebody will hire him. So, but Louisville's not going to hire him with all the problems they have with Pitino. They're not going to do that.
No.
And again, I don't think he's sweating it whenever it happens.
Sure.
I think he's just happy to be back in coaching, and happy to have the year they had, and he's happy to be appreciated by the.
I'm glad to hear that side of it.
Yeah, do you think an SEC school would ever hire him, Ron?
You know, people said, well, same thing about Hugh Freeze.
True.
And it's like you have to, it's like you have to go pay your penance somewhere else before they allow you back in the club.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt.
You know, it's like we can't hire you right back. I know Nick wanted, Hugh possibly as an offensive coordinator, and really the SEC kind of, I don't want to. And so he went to Liberty, paid his penance, and he came back. And so, I think he could get back to the SEC or a Power 5 job. I'll look at maybe they will look at Will Wade at McNeese as paying his penance. This is a guy who showed he was contrite, admitted he probably needed to be knocked down a notch, and he went somewhere and rebuilt a program at a tough place where it's hard to do, and showed that he wanted to take the steps he needed to take to get back.
Yeah. Well, he did
what kind of job does the AD and president do towards athletics now?
At LSU?
Yeah.
They do a great job at athletics. I mean, if you look at the hires that the AD has made since he's been there, and this is a guy who was at LSU a long time ago, then went to Washington and not in the athletic department, but in the university, and went to Washington and then went to Texas A&M. He's a guy from Baton Rouge and came back to Baton Rouge, and his hires have been, let's see, Brian Kelly, Kim Mulkey, Jay Johnson, the baseball coach. Well, two of those three have already won national championships. And he knows how to hire people. He also basically understands that to give them the tools and the money they need to work with to get the coaches they want or for the facilities they want. It's an AD who wants to win in all sports, not just the top three. And so he looks at everything. I mean, he's not quick to fire people. He'll come in and look for and review a program for a full year, a body of work. Like the women's basketball coach I had before Mulkey, basically she just did the stock recruiting, and it was an embarrassment. But he didn't come in her and fire her right away. He watched her for I think a season, maybe 2 seasons, and before he made the decision, like, look, we're going to fire you, but you need to say that you found another job. This is what we're going to do for you. And they did.
Before we let you go, tell Barry and I about the new defensive staff. Everybody he fired. I hate to tell you this, but I'm fixing to let you go. Kind of thing that rubbed people a long way behind the scenes. Tell about the firing and the hiring, football wise, and the attitude, feeling towards your head coach.
Well, I mean, it was obvious that the defensive staff he had, it wasn't working. Last year, if they would have had any kind of defense, they may have been in the playoffs because they certainly had the offense to get there. And so there's the question whether he would, fire his defensive coordinator or anybody else defensively. But the one thing I'll describe about Brian Kelly is this, that no matter if he's had some lifelong friendships with some of his coaches he's hired or whatever, the bottom line is he wants to win. And if those coaches aren't getting the job done, they understand that Brian Kelly is probably will fire them because he's about winning and not about maintaining friendships. And that's happened here with got some people he's let go. But look, LSU gave him the money to go out and get the best staff possible. And it's interesting, some of the guys you got, like the defensive coordinator, Blake Baker, they got from Missouri, who had a really good year. Well, Blake Baker was on the Ed Orgeron's last staff, and Kelly didn't retain it. Here we are, like 3 years later, and he's hired him as defensive coordinator because he thinks he's proven something as a coordinator. He went to Texas and got Bo Davis, defensive line coach, one of the best in the nation. LSU paid the money for that. They went out and got, again, this is a deal where they the AD gave them the money they needed basically to hire an entire new defensive staff. And so they're excited about that. They like their offensive staff. They like their team. Even with the new quarterback who Garrett Nussmeier, who has been here 2 or 3 years and quarterback the bowl game. They like what they have back, and and Kelly feels good that this is year 3, and there's not any more question of how he runs things or how his practices are run. And his players are more like his players have been here for 2 or 3 years, have kind of become assistant coaches or leaders on the field, and he feels good about that. So they like where they are. They do.
Good.
All right, Ron, tell everybody where they can find you and get all your great stuff.
You go to ShreveportBossierJournal.com. That's the website. It's free. And also my website, theronhiggins.com. It's free. And on Twitter, @RonHigg.
There you go. Thank you, Ron.
Hey, Ron.
All right.
It's a long time ago that we was arguing about the Kool-Aid down at Joe Dean's camp, isn't it?
Belly wash. Remember? He called it belly wash.
Yeah. Giving out tours. Thank you, Ron. There's Ron Higgins. All right, let's tell them, Dad, about Bryant Bank before we get to break.
Well, first thing I want to tell you is I'm a member of Bryant Bank. Been working with Bryant Bank for years, and I think most of you know that I try to watch what I do with my money. And Bryant Bank is absolutely the very best place for me. 4 offices in Tuscaloosa, but there's offices all over the state of Alabama and Birmingham as well, South Alabama. And Bryant Bank customers enjoy online banking for an easy way to do things. They know exactly. They have online banking 24 hours a day. They will be the people that when you walk in, you will know the banker. You will know the people in there after a couple of visits. They will know you. It'll be a homegrown atmosphere, which I think is very, very important. They've done a lot for the people outside of the bank. Tried to do a lot with the schools there in Tuscaloosa. They're dedicated to try to service you in a way that you need to be serviced. It's not just a statement. It's fact that when you go in there and you go out of there, you've been waited on and you understand exactly what you needed to do for the problem that you had if you went in there. We also remember the sad truth of small businesses being targeted. They're going to handle that for you. They realize that, and they have done a terrific job in that. If you're looking to buy a home, then you can certainly get a decent loan there. Archie Weaver's involved with Bryant Bank and knows about the security and expectations in trying to buy a home. So my suggestion to you is that you go by Bryant Bank and take a look at it. Visit with them. And I think you will open up an account there and you'll be well pleased. So just tell them that you heard Barry and I on the radio. And
Brian McKnight 4.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International.
Follow the Crimson Tide on their journey to another national championship. Touchdown, Alabama! On your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. Tuscaloosa Toyota. Go to TuscaloosaToyota.com. Looking right here at the website now. You can chat with somebody right there at the dealership, right there on the website if you'd like. You look at the new vehicles, the used vehicles, schedule a service, rent a Toyota, order parts. I'm looking here at the Grand Highlander, the Toyota Tacoma trucks, the cars there. You can do whatever you need right on this great website, or swing by Skyland Boulevard. Justin, David, DeSantis, they will take absolutely great care of you. The service out at Tuscaloosa Toyota is the best of the best. So get by there today and tell them that Wimp and Barry sent you. We'll take this last break and then wrap up the show. You listen to Todd Wonder.
Fast. Clean Eats is now open downtown with a full-service lunch and dinner cafe, coffee and smoothie bar, healthy meal prep, and grab and goes. Clean Eats on University across from the federal courthouse. CleanEATZ.com.
Mr. SEC Tournament Wimp Sanderson gives you his excellent analysis every weekday on Inside the Locker Room, right here on Tide 100.9.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. The NIT, I guess it's still going on. Georgia knocked off Wake Forest last night. That was Sunday. Let's see here. I think there may be some games in NIT tonight. Yeah, Georgia will take on Ohio State tonight. I guess, I don't know if they take this thing back to New York or not. I need to check. Cincinnati takes on Indiana in the NIT. So let's see if that's on ESPN.
It's a basketball game. Arkansas Little Rock's in some kind of game at their conference thing they're playing. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I think there's a CBI or something like that. Yeah. Also, the NIT semifinals, quarterfinals is UNLV, Seton Hall, and VCU. Ryan Odom takes on Utah. So, all right, that's it for today's show. I've got Peter Chilcutt's number. I'm going to reach out to Peter, see if we can get him on tomorrow or Thursday. That'd be interesting to talk to Pete Chilcutt, who does color now for the University of North Carolina. Obviously, his parents still live in Eutaw, Alabama, and Alabama will be taking on the North Carolina Tar Heels about 8:39 on Thursday night. So that's it for today's show. Keep it locked in for the Gary Harris Show. Gary's in next. Thank you, Justin, for taking care of us this morning. You listen to Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports. Have a great day, everybody.